Neil, just brings up to date with how the week's gone and players that maybe aren't available to you this weekend.
Yeah, the week's it's gone fine. It's players have been in good spirits. I think we started the week with Christian Montano being the only sort of injury. We've ended the week with a couple unavailable. James Gibbons felt his groin after training on Tuesday, and David Worrell was ill after the game on Wednesday. So we've got a couple more players that we can't choose, but we've obviously got enough numbers to cope.
Did that affect your plans a lot, or just obviously it affects your options, doesn't it?
It only affected my plans if they were going to play on Saturday, and obviously I'm not going to tell you what the team was, but you're always disappointed to not have people available because you want to have as many options as possible.
Talk about the atmosphere, and it's been a good week. That's going to help, isn't it? It's going to help with nerves. It's going to help with the confidence going into the game at the weekend, which it's not an ordinary game. It's not an ordinary fixture that you would have most weeks.
No, I think it's obviously in terms of when the fixtures come out, it's both games. You obviously have an added interest in them. I think when you're local to ourselves, but unfortunately, as a manager, you've got to say the normal things, which is you've got to treat it as any other game, and you've got to not get caught up in the atmosphere or anything like that. You've just got to go out and try and play your own game, which is partly true, but invariably it's hard to do that because the adrenaline is flowing a bit more. There is a bit more buzz about it. The tempo tends to be a little bit quicker, so they are different games, and I think it's always how either team copes on the day.
And I guess the players, of course, they're aware of it. So, do you see them pick up on that difference of fixture?
I think so. I think because we do have a mixture of players, but there's nobody who won't be aware of the proximity between the clubs. But for me, because when I played here, the derby will always be against Stoke. And that's what eventually everybody would always love to see. But I think when you're in this division, both teams, then obviously it is at the moment. This is our derby, so therefore it is our biggest game.
Did you anticipate training to be as good as it has been this week because of last week's result, or is it because players are actually thinking, want to up it up a little bit, another 10%, 20% in training because I'd like to feature in this game at the weekend?
Yeah, I just think it's because Brabs has gone.
You don't really.
No. I think players are players. They know it's if you get a win, obviously people come in lifted on the following week. I think that's normal because you've got an important game coming up. I think everybody's on the toes for that. So I think it's a mixture of the two. But when it gets down to it, it's a game that, like I say, we've got to play at our best, and we've got to play football.
I know you joke about Gary Bramin going, but he will be a loss to your management team. But you've given Danny Pugh a little bit more responsibility. How has he risen to that this week?
No, I think Danny's a good person to be stepping into Brabs' shoes. Certainly in the short term, because he's a link with the dressing room. He's a current player. He's obviously younger than myself and Nogs and Brabs, so he might see things slightly different, and you wanted an opinion that's probably different to your own. And he's got enough experience, and he's a good professional, so his opinion, will be important. And like I say, it'll give us a different voice and maybe a different perspective on things. And like I say, disappointed that Brabs is gone, but footballers are footballers, and you know, if the manager goes or if the staff goes, footballers just get on with it because they know that there'll be somebody else coming in who they have to impress, and that's always the same in football.
But I'm sure with you and Gary, he was someone who was stood next to you on the training ground, or you know, in your office after the training or after matches, you could confide in, have a chat with. Has it been a bit strange for you this week not to have someone like that?
Well, no, because I've got obviously I've worked with Lee Nogan longer than Gary, and it, whereas it was a chat between three of us, it's now between two of us. But you know, there's nothing to say that you know, Pewey will ever say and end up having as much say as Gary. It just depends how he wants to develop into the role. But I certainly don't want him there just to make the numbers up, and I want him to have his opinion, even if he disagrees. I think that's important because you have to have difference of opinion. I think that's healthy, and people have got to speak their mind.
Is it a trial period for him, or is it something that actually maybe this is an avenue he can pursue, you know, after his playing contract?
No, it's not a trial. I think I've said I'm always happy if I work with people who I know, and obviously there's been a couple of ex-players who've been at the club who've helped me since I've been manager. You know, so you never know what comes up. So he's certainly not on trial, but if there wasn't anybody suitable, then we're more than happy for Danny to continue in that role.
And the fans this weekend, I've talked about the excitement and the players have trained well, you know, you're looking forward to it as well. The fans are certainly looking forward to this one, and as you've touched upon the Potteries derbies, this is still a local derby for Crewe and Vale fans, and there's still bragging rights at stake, so they'll be at their vociferous best, the Vale fans, for you at the weekend.
No, I think our fans have been very good. I think you know, I was even, you know, looking through some older programmes from way back, and I think our core of supporters has been very good, considering what they've had to sort of witness and what they've had to endure over the last few seasons. So I think they've been very good by sticking with the team. I think they supported us really well in the home games this season, and in the game that we lost against Newport, they really got behind the team, and we're the same on Saturday. And all they want is to get a team that can do them justice. And like I've said, I'm not one to make promises, and you can't in football because you never know what's going to happen in terms of getting a bit of bad luck, or if you get a refereeing decision go against you. But the minimum should always be that the players give 100%, and then they can come off and hold their heads high regardless of the result. And we'll all get disappointed if we don't get the result, but always the bigger disappointment is if you feel, as a manager, if you feel your team haven't given their all. And I think there's no excuse if they don't do that.
Important away from home, particularly in a match like this, to start brightly, to put in those tackles nice and early. That gets your fans on, you know, vocally and on their feet, I guess, as well. And that can turn the momentum. It can swing the pendulum from feeling like an away game to a home game for you, and that'll be quite important.
Well, I think you have to you have to bear in mind that our away form is really bad. There's no hiding away from the fact. So our away form, you know, has been very disappointing. Crewe's home form is good, and they've not let in a goal yet. So at the moment, you'd have to say that you know, it's a difficult game, but we have to improve how we've been away from home. Got to put all those thoughts out of our head, and we've got to go there really with a fresh mindset. Forget about what's gone on over the last sort of number of games away from home, and we've got to approach, I think, every game in a positive manner. You know, eventually it'll turn, but obviously we need it to turn as soon as possible.
You can't afford to start slowly, can you?
I don't think any game. I think if you're on the back foot early on, especially in a local derby, it's you know, it's difficult. I think last year we were on the back foot straight from the beginning, and then we got back into the game with a penalty, which gave us a lifeline. So we can't afford to be starting like we did last year.